Welcome, friends and neighbors. This is Rollin Frost, Kona astrologer. This is program 924, and we're going to get into the last half of August 2014. And I guess the main thing that I would point out for your coming week is that Mars here is moving up towards Saturn. Yes, and that's a big deal. I mean, you've all seen the fighting, and you've all probably even felt a little like fighting. But as Mars comes up to Saturn, Saturn has a way of closing things down. The question will be, will he stop the fires and the fighting? As Mars comes up and hits Saturn, Saturn makes things colder and drier. But of course Saturn is a bad guy. Here's the small malefic. Here's the great malefic, according to the ancients. So it could be that Mars will fire up Saturn, and the bad Saturn guys will become even more bloodthirsty. I mean, that's the whole question. Now, Mars hits that Saturn towards the end of your next week. Will it stop the fires and the fighting, or will there be more blood? The other interesting thing is, coming up right away for you, the first part of your next week, Venus conjuncts Jupiter, kind of just the opposite. The lesser benefic conjuncts the greater benefic. Benefic is good, malefic is bad. So we got the two malefic planets coming together, in about 10 days for you. And then in a couple of days, we got the two benefic planets, Venus and Jupiter, coming together. And so it could be one of those real great contrasts in your coming week. All right, here's the chart I drew for you. And it looks like it's mellowing out a little bit because there's less squares and stuff. But the main thing is we've got a bunch of planets down here, and they're squaring Mars and Saturn. And Mars is starting off at 11 Scorpio to 17. And here's Venus and Jupiter, and oh boy, they're not in harmony. No, in fact, Venus and Jupiter are squaring Saturn and Mars. And of course, they start off really well, and the lawyers will sweet talk everybody the first part of your coming week. And it seems like the wisdom and the love and the wisdom will come out real strong. And it wants to block. A square is a blockage. It's like a rock in your path. And Venus and Jupiter here, they'd like to put a rock in the path of these two bad guys, Saturn and Mars. And we shall see what happens on this great stage we call American reality. The French existentialists call it the spectacle. You got to get a little separation. You're the spirit riding on the train. You're the spirit riding in that body. And you could get a little separation and not feel all this stuff so personally, huh? So if you take a page from the philosophers, you get off the stage and get in the audience and watch the thing a little bit. Get a little separation. That's what Uranus would like you to do. Get a little higher consciousness, huh? Well, here comes some at you. We're going to run the moon around the worldly pattern, and as the moon makes angles to these various actors on the stage, your vibes, the generic vibes change, huh? The mood of the times. The moon has a lot to do with your mood, your emotional mood. And what's it like day by day? Well, if you're on a Thursday night show, feels like everybody needs help here a little bit. But Thursday morning you had some enlightenment from Uranus, and I hope it worked for you. Friday, August 15th, in the morning, the moon moves into Taurus here. This is between breakfast and lunch, but there's a square to Venus, and there's no sweets, and everybody feels lusty, but there's problems with this fulfillment of your desires. Yes. And here also is Jupiter in square. We want too much. And here's Mars ticked off. Now in the middle of this, there's dreaminess Friday afternoon, a sextile to Neptune. Oh, we're all idealistic and we believe that all this stuff will happen. And there's some investigation due on it early Saturday morning. But truth is, here's squares to Venus and Jupiter, and they're not doing so hot. And the lawyers and the sweets and the divas and the love and the wisdom don't feel so hot. Then there's confusion Friday, and then there's anger as you hit the square to Mars around afternoon and dinner time. So investigate Saturday morning, but it continues the bad feeling because here's the opposition to Saturn happening on Saturday in the middle of the day. So the 16th isn't quite as nice as it could be either. And in fact, you're not getting much done because here's a square to the sun late Saturday night, moon in Taurus. So Friday and Saturday, ooh, a lot of obstacles to overcome. Sunday, about the middle of the day, the moon moves into Gemini here on the 17th, and we become more energized and more busy. Unfortunately, here's Mercury saying, no, no, I don't want to talk, I don't want to move, I don't want to communicate. And here's problems with the kids again. Geez, we're watching Israelis bomb schools and kids, and then we're watching the U.S. turn away and maltreat all these kids from Central America that are certainly the most needy refugees this country's seen. What happened to the Statue of Liberty? Well, kids have been getting beat up, that's all. Mercury's not doing so hot, and he's confused and he's lost here. And what happened to the compassion? Well, the feeling of lostness, Neptune, is right here at the same time. The love comes in, and some compassion should be here, but everybody's too hung up in their own pleasure lives, Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. So it's not exactly a good time for church and belief, and you know, the music's too loud and the words are lying to you. So try to relax, get a little Venus and Jupiter wisdom, a little rest. Here on Monday late, there's a sextile to Uranus, and here's some real common sense wisdom. Here's some secular, real things from the mind that's favored now this month since you're 18 Aquarius full moon. So, you know, I would, Monday night, think about astrology. Hey, do you know your rising sign? More on that later. Here Tuesday, you still got good brotherhood vibes and common sense is ruling. Feels pretty good. You're going to get some projects done Tuesday afternoon because there's the moon sextiles the sun here. Late Tuesday night, it leaves Gemini and goes into Cancer, and we start feeling the tensions again of the cardinal sign problems. Starts with a territoriality. It's my territory. You know, don't let all those kids from Central America in. It's my territory. Where's the police? Here's a panicky feeling. Here's bombings. Here's Pluto stuff. But then Mars comes. There's heroes out there trying to fix stuff Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. But still, the power's out. And there's a square to Uranus. It's panicky, and the power's out. And I don't know that the heroes, they all seem like they're holding back. And the holding back maybe is the Saturn part. I don't know. Organized heroes trying to fix the power problems. Must be Israel. Gaza. Thursday. Thursday morning, it settles out about breakfast time if you get traditional in a real way. And the vibes continue kind of right through Friday morning until the moon switches into Leo. And then you're going to get the Venus-Jupiter stuff. This could be quite beautiful, but it happens early in the morning. And so you won't see it, you know, unless you get up real early, you'll see Venus and Jupiter and the moon all together. Anyway, Friday night, it starts with the conjunction to Jupiter. And there's wisdom, and there's laughing, and there's parties, and there's clowning around, and there's people are feeling pretty good here. Yeah. Saturday morning continues. There's Venus too that doesn't come in until Saturday afternoon, but she'll be there all through Friday night and through Saturday morning. And you don't hit the rough parts until you wind up with the square to Mars and Saturn. And there they are. Too much anger, too much lust. The wolves are loose. Eek! And here's Saturn saying, well, they're in uniform. Must be okay. They can go and kill people if they're in uniform. Give me a break. State-sponsored terrorism. Anyway, Sunday you'll be mulling it all over with the moon in Leo. And you may come to some conclusions Monday morning here when the moon hits Virgo and there'll be a new moon. And this new moon always gives us a different slant on things. Be with somebody you love and be prepared to change your plans for the next week. Okay, here's something different. This is my old ephemeris. And by now you'll see stuff like, here's the number of the show. This is when this show covers that period, that week. Each one of these is a week. And here's a note right here where this is how I make my notes. Who's that? That's Mercury. And Mercury got in real trouble here. And that was just last weekend for me. Yeah, because, see, I have to do those early now due to certain irrational policies of Alelo. And so I'm sitting here right now, here, and I'm doing the show that covers this area here. Anyway, since we had the new moon, which was at 4 degrees of Leo right here, in Kona, we had a rainstorm here. Was it not last night, but the night before, and we had a little rain at night. But suddenly, for an hour, I don't know how long it was, there was more rain coming down than I've ever heard, and it just woke everybody up, and it was blasting, and it was a huge amount of rain suddenly. Well, that was a new moon conjunct Jupiter that happened here. That's going to cover this whole period. And it's focused on Kauai and maybe the western shores of Oahu too. So I brought you here because I noticed some notes I had, and I put these notes here because I can't lose them, right? Okay, so here's bad storm note. Now this may be a little late for you because, well, you're sitting right here. This is where you are, I think, supposed to watch the show on Thursdays, Thursday the 14th. So the bad storm was here back 4 or 5 days ago for you. But it kind of covers an area too. And this is an interesting note here. I did this late at night. Pretty lightning. And I made a little arrow right down here. So if you're on the Thursday show on the 14th, it appears you might get some pretty lightning here in the next few days, especially on Kauai. Funny prediction, huh? Gosh. Anyway, over here we have Mars and Jupiter, and they're coming together. And I'm really interested to see what happens when these guys get together and square Venus and Jupiter. So, watch the spectacle. Yeah, hindsight's easy. But the reason Mercury here got in so much trouble back at the end of July is because, one, it hit the 20-degree full moon thing at Capricorn, and Mercury here was in Cancer, and so was opposed by the full moon. And also because Uranus squared it at 16.5, and so kind of taking a beating. I have a note here that says, again on August 2nd and 3rd, well, you're past that, Mercury's in trouble, and they're lost, and they're getting run around, and that's tough. And then there's a final one here of when Mercury hits Friday night, August 25th, and that's Monday night, huh? Well, there's Mercury. I'm not sure why that is. But hopefully kids will get better as we go along. Pretty lightning, huh? Amazing note. Let's see what happens there. Okay, here's the full moon, August 10th. Now I'm back here on July 29th, so I haven't even seen this yet. But it's been shouting at me because this full moon hits our president's chart pretty heavy. Here's the full moon, and here's his chart on the inside. You know, this is the kind of thing I'd do for you if I was doing personal work. And here's the transiting planets on the outside, which I've set for this full moon. And here's the moon at 1802 when it becomes the most full, and his rising sign is at 1803. So there's going to be some exaggerated emotion in the president's chart. This is the rising sign, as we've been talking about. This is your body. Yes, you get a full moon on your rising sign, you're going to be concerned about your body. And I saw the president on TV yesterday talking about Russia and Putin or something, and he had a haggard look on his face, and he wasn't happy, and there was a helicopter behind him, and then he said he had to go because he had an appointment at Walter Reed. Uh-oh. Health problems? Well, these are body hits, huh? In the president's chart, he has Neptune doctors right here at 8 Scorpio, and they're in the 9th house of experts. They rule his money house for one, but these experts are being energized because on the full moon, Mars is right on his Neptune, and so he's got very aggressive, protective, heroic doctors kind of swarming around him, and he's having some exaggerated emotion about the body, right? And now, when you look at almost anybody's chart and begin to do, you know, the schedule for the body you're in, you look at these transiting planets that are moving around like this, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, one. They move like that in the sky. They make loops. Well, the great malefic is Saturn. And Saturn here, up in the 9th house, is in Scorpio at 17 degrees. It's only 1 degree off squaring the president's rising sign. So his body, he loses weight, he feels dried up, he gets old. He has a challenge from experts, lawyers. These could be politicians, you know, Saturn, the judge. Whatever it is, I'm concerned mostly here just about the body and the fact that as Mars moves up here and hits Saturn at the end of your next week at 17.5 degrees, it's only half a degree off squaring the president's rising sign. He is vulnerable to accidents and injuries. Hopefully this is aggressive doctors, and he won't be very happy with that. But here on the full moon also, the sun opposes the rising sign, so does Mercury. And that concerns me a little bit. So one of the things you like to do when you find yourself in this situation is check out the progressions. So I got the president's secondary progress chart here on the computer. You can take a look at it. And his progress chart, he's got 28 Aries rising. These things all change, but it's noticeable that over here there's some opposing guys. And Mars is there, just about 27 degrees. It's only 1 degree off opposing his rising. And here's Mercury too, who can be a challenge, somebody fast on their feet, and already opposed. Well, he's about to oppose. That's not for a little bit yet. Still, here's, yeah, I got it in the back of my mind too that there could be some. These doctors, they keep our presidents pumped up on speedy drugs and things, and here's Jupiter up at the top of the chart, and Jupiter is squaring the rising sign too. So there's a lot of over aggressive talk and things that are kind of in the blocking the president's way here. I don't know if these are all health problems or there's going to be components in the outer reality also. Now the way Saturn works, kind of like the Grim Reaper, he'll move up, hit the square, and give you troubles like this is legal problems, and then he stops and makes his retrograde, and he goes back and hits the square again and makes more problems. Then he goes forward and hits it the third time. You know, it's like the Sith goes over and then it goes back and sets up the grain and makes a stroke. Well, Saturn's been here already. In December, it hit that 18-degree thing and squared the president and slowed him down and grayed his hair a bit. And then Saturn's coming back again, going backwards. There it is. And it came back and hit 1803 as the first week in June 2014. So when it goes forward, this is the third time out. You could say this is the last time you'll have a chance at the president. And Saturn's moving up there. The thing about it is, when Saturn hits the square exactly the first few days in September, there's a trigger, and the trigger is Mars. And Mars goes by and hits that square around the 25th, 26th, 27th. I don't like that much at all. So this may be angry experts, and we hopefully, but Mars being the trigger to Saturn, and it's all happening here that last week in August, still 2 weeks up ahead of you. And the moon comes around and opposes, and if somebody's going to get on his, it's going to be Saturday night, the 23rd of August, 2014. And that's a good time to stay home, Mr. President. And yeah, Saturday night, Sunday morning, 23rd, 24th of August. We should all just cross our fingers for our president a little bit, because this Mars and Saturn together, it's nobody to mess with. No. Just a brief reminder, if you look in the Gila newspaper, you should see the half-hour special I've put on about burn trash, ? And there you'll see this whole problem summed up a little bit. Tell your friends about it, spread the word, generate a little public thing here. We do not want an incinerator in the... Hey, let's switch our view here and talk about you. Yeah, let's have some value for you in this business of astrology. Who is you anyway? Well, here's a hint. The sun is not you. The sun is your father. The moon is your mother. Sun is character, how you do things you copied from your father or father figures. Moon is personality, face, emotional signs, no words, emotions, facial expressions. You are your rising sign. Yes, and that can tell you an awful lot about yourself. Now here's the first thing. You're going to be earth, air, water, or fire. There's 4 of these guys. And, are you an earthy kind of a person? Are you a Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn rising? Earthy is practical, sensual, down to earth. They wear colors of the earth, deep greens, the browns, the grays, colors of the rocks and things. Earthy people are very earth, kind of animal-like too. I'm an earth sign, Taurus rising. Or you could be an air. Air sign people are airy. You know, they're talking all the time. Geminis, Libras, Aquariuses, they exist in the mind. You know, they're really into the mental and the communication. Air sign people are airy. Water sign folks, the Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces rising, they're watery. They're emotional. I'm in the world of emotions very well. Not so much the mental stuff. It's more the emotional stuff, yes. And they wear colors of the water. Everything from the deep purples to the greens to the blues and stuff. Air sign people, they wear light blues, whites. Tennis folks a lot of them are air, Libras. You see the kind of clothes they wear, the light colored colors of the air, colors of the earth, colors of the air, colors of the water. And finally the fire sign. Oh boy, The Aries, Leo, Sag, these guys wear fire colors, yeah, oranges and reds and stuff. Get up and go, and they're in the world of action and doing stuff. So, are you earthy, airy, watery, or fiery? Well, you got to know your rising sign. It all starts right here. The rising sign's over here. This we'll call a natural chart. Good way to start learning your chart. It's just write all these down. And you'll find out, here's a fire sign, here's an earth sign, here's an air sign, here's a water sign. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. All the fire signs, water signs, all the earth signs trine each other. They make a triangle. So earth, air, fire, water. What color are you? What's the sense of it? Now, there's another thing here, and that's cardinal, mutable, fixed. These guys all square and oppose each other. The fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And then they don't move too much. Like I'm a Taurus, I'll stay fixed. Hard to get me going. Yeah, I can endure a lot though. Mutable signs, Geminis, Virgos, Sag, and Pisces. Those guys are moving all the time. Hard to keep the butterfly quiet sometimes. Mutable, very adjustable, adaptable, unlike the fixed. Adaptable. The mutables are adapting all the time. Then there's cardinal. Those are the get up and go. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. And they want to do things, start things, get going on stuff. So you're either fixed or mutable or cardinal. And you're either earthy, airy, or fiery. You got to know your rising sign. Yeah, and it's not hard to do. What time of day were you born? Well, this is a clock. You know that your clock is really a chart, or you'd have 24 numbers. You got 12 numbers because there's 12 signs. So you go, each one of these signs is 2 hours long because this thing goes around once every 24 hours. So for 2 hours, there's Aries is rising. Then for 2 hours, Taurus is rising. And you want to figure out your rising sign. So you know what sun sign it is. If you're a Capricorn sun sign, put it right up there in the Capricorn. If you're halfway through Capricorn, put it halfway through and make a little dot. Here's your sun. And then just count down to here. And you got your rising sign. It's that simple. If you know the zodiac, you can do this in your head. Yeah, we used to do it a lot around my house. It's great fun. Get to know yourself and the people around you. It works for your dog and cat also. Yes, it does. Your dog and cat has a rising sign.